Right, everyone. Welcome. As David says, I'm Ojay McDonald. I'm the CEO of the Association of Town and City Management. We're the co-host today of this event. And I have to say, it's one of the most important topics that I, as a TCM CEO, have ever discussed. I'm delighted that we're joined by Dr Rafiq Hamdi from the Royal Meteorological Institute for Belgium. I have to say, it's really good that he can join us today because his expertise, for me, is exactly what we need within our industry. And I think his support is going to be vital, and you really need to hear what he has to say. Now, some of you would have realised that we've had to slightly tweak our agenda. So we hope Alice Charles will be with us soon. But first, to start off with, Dr. Rafiq, I'm delighted, absolutely delighted you could join us. Can you just start? We're going to get on to your work with the IPCC, but can we just start by hearing a little bit about your expertise, especially in terms of both climate change and the built environment?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Ojay, for this very nice invitation. And I'm really delighted to be here and to talk to all of you. So, so I am Rafiq Hamdi. I'm working at the Royal Meteorological Institute here in Belgium, so at the Met Service. So I am a lead author of the IPCC report, and I was involved in chapter 10. Which is more about how to create, it's more a methodological chapter where we try to assess all the method on how to go to, or how to provide regional information. And more specifically for me, it was about urban. So how to create information at the decision scale, let's say, for city, and to provide all the information that is needed to this level of scale, so at the urban scale.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely critical. What's it like being able to compile all that data for such an important report, which you know is probably going to influence the outcome of COP26 in just a month's time?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, it's really a huge work. It's really a huge work because we need to review a lot of publication in the literature and try to assess all this. So we don't need to cite all the publication, but we need to assess them and to extract the key information from the literature and to update the science at the level of the urban climate. So it's for my part, it took me a lot of time, really a lot of time to assess this and to create maps and it's a lot of work.
And so first real big question for you is, do you think, in your professional opinion, it's possible for us to resolve the climate crisis if we don't take immediate action in the built environment? Or does the built environment, it has to change and there's no other option?
Yes, so let me first maybe give you a small context why we are interested by cities. I think that my previous speaker, they really illustrate in very good way why we need to take care of cities, but maybe let me just add some more numbers here. So in fact, today cities are home to 55% of the world population. And this number is increasing, and every year cities welcome 67 million new residents, 90% of whom are moving to cities in developing countries. And by 2030, almost 60% of the world population is expected to live in urban area. And what is also unique for urban area is that you don't have only the climate change impact, but you have another local effect, which is the fact that the urban area experience air temperature that can be several degrees Celsius warmer than the surrounding area. And this is especially during the night. And this is what we call the urban heat island. So I think for cities, we need really to work now to try to work on this urban heat island effect, to mitigate this effect and to adapt the buildings to this effect. In fact, when we build a building, it's more or less for the same time scale of climate change, because when we construct the buildings for at least 100 years, which is the same scale on which we are working for the impact of climate change. So I think we need to start now. And I would say that I don't have in mind here all the emission, the greenhouse gas emission that are emitted by the cities. I think we need to wait for the next report from the for the working group 2 and working group 3 that will be I think it will be published or approved in next year, in February next year, where we could have these numbers. But what I can say is that we need to adapt our buildings and now to climate change impact.
Yeah, indeed. We've actually heard about problems in terms of some of the buildings we have in England converting commercial premises into residential premises because we've got a growing population. And there being some concerns that those buildings aren't being adapted correctly yet for the fact that we will see much higher temperatures. We'll see more days of 40 degrees centigrade and more. And some of our residential buildings are just not designed for those kinds of high temperatures, made even worse in a built environment, like you say, because of the heat island.
Definitely, yes, definitely. In fact, maybe I must just explain what why we have this urban heat island, from where it comes. So this urban heat island effect results from several factors, and the one including the reduced ventilation and the heat trapping, because due to the close proximity of tall buildings. You have also the heat generated directly from human activities, like from the warming system, etc. The heat absorbing properties of concrete and the other urban material that are used for the construction, and of course, the limited amount of vegetation. And what we know is that the further urbanization will intensify the urban heat island and increase mainly the nighttime temperature in cities. So, and this is a big problem when you have heat waves, is that during the night, the fact that you are in the cities will not allow you, or will not allow the body, the human health, to recover from the heat from the extreme heat during the morning, during the day. So during the night, the fact that you are in a city will exacerbate the heat waves, and this is really a big problem that we need to take care in urban areas.
That sounds like a significant problem. And I've not heard it explained in that way as well, in terms of when exactly, at what point during the day, the specific problems will occur. So that alone, I think, is really useful information. Just to go back on the sort of important stat you've given us, that cities across the world are gaining around 67 million new residents every year.
Yes.
Do you think there's a danger there? Because in terms of that growth, that rather than this growth being spread out equally amongst all cities, this growth could actually be concentrated in some cities, because we know more and more there are certain cities which people will rely on less and less as they become less habitable, as we already start to see the impacts of climate change. And we have the thing of the growth of the sort of climate refugee. I'm just thinking of the devastation which the people of New Orleans have suffered twice from hurricanes in the past few years. Yes. And whether people start to move to other areas. We have towns and cities in coastal areas in our nation of Wales, which sits on, for those that don't know, on the west side of mainland Great Britain, and those coastal areas, there is a lot of challenge around being able to protect them. So do you think we could see a sort of exacerbation of that population growth? Definitely,
you are completely right. So first, I will say one word about the future urbanization. In fact, what will do the future urbanization is that will expand the urban heat island area. Thereby, it will amplify the future warming in many places all over the world. And we just found that in some places, the nighttime warming coming from further urbanization could even be on the same order of magnitude as the warming expected from human-induced climate change. So just the fact that your city is becoming bigger and bigger, your impact on nighttime temperature could be as high as big as the one coming from the global climate change. So you need to add these two. Sometimes it's not linear, so sometimes it's exacerbated, and there is some synergy between both that exacerbates the global climate change in cities. So this is what I just say, that is that some climate extremes, including, for example, hot extremes, will be exacerbated under this change condition. And extreme events in many cities, including heat waves, droughts, are projected to increase in frequency and intensity with climate, with future global warming. And now, especially for the coastal cities, there is what we found is with a high confidence that there is an increase in pluvial flooding, potentially in urban area where extreme precipitation is projected to increase. And especially if you look to high global warming level. So for coastal cities, the combination of extreme sea level increased by both sea level and storm surge and extreme rainfall or river flow event will increase the probability of flooding with high confidence. And another phenomena which is related more to the air pollution is that we found that in a warmer climate, or a warmer climate combined with the urban heat island effect in cities will exacerbate also the air pollution in cities. So yeah.
I mean that sounds scary. I mean the issues with heat and the urban heat island sound scary. The issues, the challenges with water really sound devastating. And I think one thing that I don't think a lot of us in this industry has appreciated, and I think you've just highlighted it there, is this issue. Having read some of the IPCC report and other documents around climate change and its impact on urban environment, it's this thing called the sort of compound extreme weather event. So it might not just be heavy rain, it might be heavy rain and a combination of rising sea levels at the same time, which are dangerous, really dangerous. Do you want to just explain a bit more about the compound weather event?
Yes, exactly. So this is what I just said, is that in this report, we found that with high confidence that for coastal cities, this compound effect, which include both the extreme sea level, which can be from sea level rise or storm surge, and extreme precipitation, rainfall, or river flow will exacerbate and will increase the probability. So in fact, I think for the developed countries, we have the capacity, we have let's say, we can adapt ourselves, and we need to do this now. But what I must say is that the price of inaction, so if we don't do anything, will be very high in the future, especially for the coastal cities.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen certainly in the UK, we've already seen some of the towns and cities we work with experience this already. In fact, I do know there was one town in Wales that not too long ago suffered from serious flooding. And one of the things they said, and this was fairly recently, is that one of the problems is there was very little warning to this flooding actually happening. There was no data there to warn them of the coming dangers. And it sounds like that's exactly the same situation we had recently in New York and New Jersey with Storm Ida, whereby they knew heavy rain was coming. They didn't realize the severity of the floods that would happen. Do you want to just talk to us about the challenges around data and how we need to make sure that data is available at the city level?
That's a very, very important point. And thank you very much for involving this point, because the problem that we have, and it's not only for flooding, it's also for temperature, for example, is that we don't have a network of observation. Now we are starting to have a network of observation in some developed city, let's say. But the problem is that these observations are not long enough. So you can find some time series for some years now. And we don't have enough long-term measurements, for example, for temperature or for precipitation in cities, because the problem is a bit on the history, because the majority of these observations are handled or are monitored by the Met service, the meteorological services. And it's, let's say, forbidden to a meteorological station to be put in an urban environment because of the building, etc. So the measurement will not be for synoptic scale. So for this reason, you will not find a station in cities. And we need now to change this paradigm and try to convince that we need to have more observation in cities. And this observation will help us, and we'll have the city, the city stakeholder, etc., to really yeah. For example, if you look to for the urban heat island now, almost. I mean, even if the urban heat is known, we can know that we have severe degree during the night, etc. But still, we cannot, for example, understand the urban heat island across all the globe, for example, and across different background climates. So, this type of measurement and observation, we need to have it now. And this is what I say, that urban monitoring networks are really needed in order to tackle this unique challenge in cities, and also in order to be able to do attribution studies for the past extreme event, and also to have a good projection for future extreme event. And what I can say also is that now we need to work in collaboration with, or what I can say is that to co-design and to co-develop plans with stakeholders, with city planner, and with the scientists that are working for cities, to provide information that is relevant at the decision scale. I think this is what is needed now, and this is what we need to work on, is to co-develop and co-design these projects together with from scientists, from city government and stakeholder, in order to improve our urban resilience.
No, I totally agree with this. So I think, given the complexity of the challenge we have in terms of that relationship between the built environment and this climate crisis, I can't see any way forward other than for an industry like this one, where we have people who manage towns and cities in the built environment, to be working with the UN, the IPCC, climate scientists like yourselves, to understand how we help to resolve the issue through better design of our cities. I assume you see that as absolutely critical going forward.
Definitely, yes. I think it's the solution forward that we need to take. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you see any other ways we can work together? So I think that data piece sounds critical. The co-design, the planning. Are there any other things we need to consider going forward, which we should?
And yes, try to convince people that the climate change is really a problem. So it's not just it's really a problem that we will face in the if we don't do anything, it will be in the near future.
Yeah, brilliant. Dr. Rafiq, that is really excellent insight. Really glad you were able to join us. I guess my very final question is, will you be able to support us in the future as we take forward this work? I know certainly for ATCM and IDA, we've discussed this, and I think climate change is something we are going to have to look at now and in the short term. But you know, we are not experts on this particular topic, and we are going to need that help going forward. Is that something you could help us to do in terms of leading the charge?
Yes, definitely. If I can help, that will be really my pleasure to work together with you. I think it's very, very important. I did not mention this, but I am also involved in a network called Urban Climate Change Network, UCCRN. And what we do in this network as well, so it's a network of researchers, not only climate scientists, but we have also architects, we have also other people working on transport, on energy in cities. And what we do is that we do also an assessment of impact on cities, but mainly on cities. It's like an IPCC report, but focused on cities. So yeah, it will be my pleasure to share with you, for example, the latest report that we wrote. And now we are working on a new report, on new assessment, a new version. So it will be my pleasure to work definitely with on this topic.
Fantastic. Dr. Rafiq, thank you very much. That was really useful insight.
Yeah, you are welcome. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.